Welcome to another episode of Foundational Foundry, the tutorial series from the Foundry Roundtable. I am Green Dragoon, and with me are my co-hosts, Dragoon1701,
Hello.
Duncan Idaho,
Hardly.
and Mark Hawkman.
Hey.
We've been on a journey to build a starter Foundry mission of sorts, and today we're starting on our third map, the interior of a crashed starship. We'll be picking our base map, redressing it with space props, and starting to build out the timeline.
Okay, so let's go ahead and create this. We want this to be our interior of a crashed Federation starship. So we can narrow it down and say that we want a Federation interior. And we've got a couple that could serve our
Battle
purposes.
damaged.
The Saratoga interior.
I think, well, let's see. I think to read it off the stream.
Great Bloom would work well too.
Yep. Let's see. Do we have the rapier?
We have the rapier. Not exactly beat up.
Yeah, Great Bloom, I've seen that used, I think most frequently for damaged interior of a Federation ship, because it does have those hallways and rooms, and it's pretty versatile. You don't need the engineering section, you just block that off.
I kind of look at the because the Saratoga is the other one. The other Saratoga is definitely on fire more than the Warwick. I guess it's a question of how recently do we want to happen.
And you also
Maybe-
got to look at what sort of rooms and things you might want or need. The Saratoga has just sort of generic rooms that you move through, whereas that other one has a nice engineering.
I like the open fire because it is also a cold planet. I can imagine the surviving crew members staying warm by the burning EPS conduits.
Well, I mean that, and it's just crashed. I mean, a recent occurrence. I think I'm gonna go with the Warwick just because it's not as spread out as Saratoga.
Yeah.
All right. This is gonna serve. I can always add fire.
We've got lots of fire.
Burn everything.
Okay, so there's well. About how we want to. Don't know if I want to deal with a
Warp core?
warp engine. So you're just kind of trying to get in there and save the.
Yeah, I just put a wall there. Well, a wall door combination.
I actually might mix this up and actually have you start at the end. Sometimes I'll flip the direction that a map gets used, just kind of make it feel a little different. So let's go.
I did that on AEI.
Yeah, it's a good technique, isn't it?
Well, but believe it or not, when I used that one planet for that Bielacian colony, I actually kind of completely changed how it played out without really even thinking about it. Because I looked at the buildings on the map, decided what I wanted to use the buildings for, which happened to be something completely different from the story mission that involves that.
So one of the downsides of these old maps is that they've got these little barn doors. I always like to replace those. All right, so okay, so get you starting over here, and go ahead and put down our. Don't need them to be. Let's put a couple of ensign lieutenant groups. Finish out with a command. I think we need to involve a captain level mob.
Yeah. And as a general rule of thumb, 2 lower level mobs, ensigns and lieutenants, generally, pretty doable. 1 is just sort of to establish, hey, there's people here. 2, then the player thinks a little bit about combat. 2 commander level mobs is going to be tough. 2 captain level mobs, don't do that. If you want to, captain is definitely the highest rank. And there's some captain level mobs based on faction that are easier than others. Typically, the higher rank, they are, the higher the level requirement, the more difficult they're going to be. But there's definitely variation. If you want to use a captain level mob and you make that combat scenario a little bit more difficult, use a lower rank mob. So team up a captain level mob with an ensign. Don't just sort of go full on, because maybe your primary character that you use to test the mission, maybe they can get through, but keep in mind, a lot of different people are going to be playing these missions. Well, at least hopefully. So you want to take into account that not all people will be able to get through something. So you want to sort of strike that balance where it's achievable to a wide section of the audience, but at the same time it's still involving to some degree. And sometimes that can require that you play around with triggers to find ways of spawning more guys in with certain dialogue options or certain buttons or something like that. So those are definitely more advanced skills. But for just starting out, be a little bit more conservative with the guys you put down. So 1 ensign, not enough. 2 ensigns, pretty good. 3, you're kind of pushing it, and then just stop at that.
All right, guys, I need your help with something.
Well, hold on. One thing that I thought of when he was talking about that is that it is actually possible to put in optional objectives for the sole purpose of making the mission harder for yourself.
Or easier, too. It's just that's going to involve tying the trigger states of certain groups to dialogue option responses. So we can definitely get into that at a later point. Especially since that's, I think, a little bit more involved with mission design. You got to already be thinking about, well, what's going on with the plot, like what's going to be, or at least what aspect is going to allow a little bit more variation to come in.
Okay, guys, idea. Good prop for making a really quick computer core.
Let's see. There's going to be civilian generator.
Okay.
That is that nest of canisters with computers on the side.
Okay, that might be good.
So it's listed
It's a console
as
group, isn't it?
Yeah, it's listed as a console group.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those situations where you really want to look over the entire list of things that are available as props, because a lot of props have weird names.
Oh, console civilians? There we go. Let's see, not that one. That's the one I was thinking about.
Sorry, I forget you guys are behind me.
Yeah. So M02 is definitely a good choice.
kind of build out a few of them, just kind of build off this side. All right, and throw in some consoles for good measure. There you go. Just don't want the room to feel empty. Okay, so got my 3 groups are going to fight. My 3 locations. I mean, just as a note, I mean, I could spend an entire day just going through and like adding debris and wreckage and really making this look like it took a pounding. I'm pretty sure I have in the past.
Yeah, you can definitely, even on these pre-built maps, you can really go a long way to making them feel custom just by adding lots of stuff. And at a certain point, you do have to ask yourself, is what I'm adding here really going to be, let's just say, noticed by the player in some way?
Notice maybe, but for the sake of this, it's not going to improve. It's not going to tell our story anymore.
Exactly.
It's not going to demonstrate anything.
We have our Federation ship interior. Some bits of it aren't working anymore. And there's bad guys inside.
And there's already a
Oh, one quick note. We didn't really cover this, but for interiors and exteriors, or just any map, we have backdrop options, which allow you to change the lighting in the case of ground maps between a lot of included presets. The one thing to note on interior maps here is that they have a different set of backdrops.
Actually,
And
really
generally,
complain.
you're a little bit more limited because a lot of these interior maps don't have windows. Or at least a good number of them don't. So what you'll be changing a lot is just the more the look and feel of the interior. But there are some components of those maps that may have exterior visuals, and there may be windows on the map. So you definitely want to take a look around at things when you do those modifications, because it might at first look, oh, this is a perfectly acceptable map. It looks great. Backdrop looks great, and then you notice you walk by a window, it's like, oh, there's a black void outside where I was hoping there'd be a little bit of space, and then you'd have to try something else.
That was actually part of the reason why I spent so much time with green site infiltration on that interior map, because at first I thought these things were just like blank walls. Then I took a second or third look and realized they were actually windows, and that the chosen backdrop outside was so utterly featureless that when I looked at the window, it just didn't look like a window.
So in this
Which,
case,
of
there
course,
actually
did
is a
cause me-
window. this map right here. This room, I've worked with this map before. So I'm actually placing a nice wall in front of it, and that'll hopefully kind of keep it from looking out onto anything. I figure, I mean, it's icy outside. Nice wall will work. All right, so I'm just placing down my NPC contacts, which are going to be my captured crew that you're saving. All right. Okay. Beat each of these. We'll have the NPCs despawn. Rescue each of them. So you get to the third one. Let's want to have it so that your last objective here is actually to sabotage the main computer. The Orions can't steal data. So I think I'm going to do that with an explosion, because explosions are cool, and we haven't done one of those yet.
Seems like a good time to use that packing crate that has a spatial charge stuck to it for no obvious reason.
Yeah, I think I was just going to have you overload it.
Or we could do that, yeah.
We'll do an explosion. Let's what do we got for fire? Fire large. Fire large looks good.
One thing I've never understood is why they. I think it's just like a random oversight. They didn't give us a single version of that spatial charge prop.
It probably was. All right, so we've got all the I think we got everything we need set up. So let's go ahead and head back into the story tab, and we're going to place our objectives.
I couldn't quite tell. Did we do the state change on the fire and the explosion?
Not yet, because they're tied to objectives.
Okay.
Let's see. Quick introductory dialogue. Follow it with our okay. Okay, so I could do this as a where I just add components here. Just do 3 different or hook up the 3 different groups to one objective. But I think I'm actually going to do this as a complete all. So I'm actually going to have 3 of these that are going to run in tandem. That's going to allow me to track each of the kills individually. I thought Work. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking, trying to come up with something in my head, and I realize it's not gonna what I need to. All right, so we will do it just tied to one objective. Okay, so and then we are going. All right, so let's finish it off with a talk to the captain, which is that location I put down in the computer core. They'll tell us that we need to destroy the core before we can go.
Oh, and the discussion with mob grouping, one interesting trick I've noticed that you can do on ground is that if you scatter mobs really widely, as soon as someone aggroes one of them, the other members of the group will come running towards you. But they don't, since they actually have to run to you and they don't just teleport to you. You can kind of sort of use that as a timer, because you kill the first guy, then the second guy gets there until you kill him, et cetera, till the entire group has gotten there.
All right, we're going to have to stop there now and pick this up in the next episode. We've made some good progress and at least given you a taste of what working with interior maps is like. Next time, we'll continue building out our timeline and finally start testing the scene. Until then, so long, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Noodles!